All right, welcome back to a new episode of Johnny on the Track. We are doing a Daytona 500 preview show. I am joined by three of my good friends, all the way, I guess, shown on the screen right now. For me is the Motor Minister himself, Armani DePaul. I'm also joined by William Richard, better known as NASCAR Opinion. And of course, the Vanilla Wafer, Tyler Villanueva. All reoccurring guests, all have been on the show before. If you guys have watched Johnny on the Track, which I'm sure you have, but for the new viewers, we've got a great show for you. We're going to preview the Daytona 500. We'll take you through who we think is going to win this thing, some dark horse picks, maybe even some viewership numbers. I'm expecting 10 mil. But I'll have to get – I see Will shaking his head. I'm going to have to get the thoughts of these guys. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to – what?
Before we begin,
yeah,
I just want to remind everybody that Will said Kyle Larson was going to win this last year.
So there it is.
You also thought Daniel Suarez would win a race.
Which one sounds more realistic?
I'll give you that.
All right. On that note, we will now get right into it. I will say, though, I'm going to be talking about Kyle Larson on this show, this very show. So we'll wait for that. But the first thing I want to talk about, there is 6 open teams. 4 cars, 4 of the open cars will make it to the big show. Let's start with you, Tyler. Of these kind of 6 open teams, are there any complete locks you think, all right, this guy and this team is absolutely going to be in the big show, and maybe on top of that can make some noise?
Honestly, I cannot really think of someone who's absolutely locked in, like, yeah, no way they're going to miss it. Absolutely not, because everyone in a way feels kind of equal right now. If I had to pick one person that I feel the most confident with, it would probably be Beard Motorsports with Noah Gregson. I feel very confident with that team moving on forward. The ones that I'm most worried about definitely is NBM Motorsports with Timmy Hill and JJ Yaley. I mean, we've seen in practice, they've been one of the slowest teams. And then Jacques Villeneuve in that number 27 team, they have been kind of there near the back. So, I mean, a lot can happen in the duels. As far as qualifying goes, I would, who could lock it in would probably be Noah Gregson. And I would have to say Kaz Gralla and the Money Racing team.
All right. And real quick, I want to follow up with you because you did actually a segment on New York racing that I think kind of went like semi-viral. So real quick, following up, what are your thoughts on Greg Biffle now being a part of that team?
Basically, I got bingo on my bingo card, but there's no other way to describe it. Who would have thought Greg Biffle would have been with NY Racing? I don't think anyone thought that. Hell, I thought we were never going to see him again, but it's really cool to see. Definitely a good veteran driver to have on your roster. They are right there in the middle for me. I could see it going either way for that team. Would I like to see Greg Biffle make it into the Daytona 500? Absolutely. But there are some guys right there close to him, more specifically Timmy Hill, and I'd say the number 27 team.
I think personally, for me, you go Gregson, you go Biffle, and you go Kaz Gralla, and you just because I think those 3 will definitely lock themselves in just because the talent behind the wheel there of those 3. I know Biffle hasn't really, driven around a car in a while, but he's still Greg Biffle. So we'll see. Will, I'm going to take it to you now. Expectations for the open cars.
For the open cars, I mean, I think it's an interesting year, obviously, because there's not that one glorified team that really sticks out. I'm not going to say necessarily a favorite, but the guys that I feel like has the most to lose, if they leave this weekend and they're not the Daytona 500, they're really hanging their heads, is Beard Motorsports with Noah Gregson. I'm a Noah Gregson guy. I think he's the most talented driver. now, obviously, Greg Biffle has a huge resume that's on this list, and the best situation that's on this list was in a really good spot to make the race last year. Things happened in the duel, didn't make the race. I feel really comfortable about them locking themselves in tonight for qualifying. My second team, I can't remember what all Money Team has as an alliance, but I know New York Racing, I believe they have the Richard Childress Racing sort of, I don't know if really an alliance, but they're getting a little bit of help in that sense. So I think at first I was a little skittish about it, but then I looked at the practice speeds, and obviously I haven't watched practice, so I don't know if it was in the draft or here or there. But I'm going to say I think Biffle has a really good shot, and maybe even tonight, just with that experience, even though, qualifying at Daytona and Talladega kind of just hold a pretty will, hope everything sticks. But I'm just not really confident in all the other teams. So tonight I'll go Gregson and Biffle to lock themselves in. And then the two I'm really worried about is Jacques Villeneuve and Timmy Hill. I think Kaz Growell and them, I think they could find a way. I could see the storyline of Money Team Racing finally proving that they're a real race team this weekend and showing up to the track and making the race. And then JJ Yeley just seems to have a knack for finding his way into races. And so I can't remember if Timmy Hill, I know it was either last year, a couple years ago, he struggled to make the race and missed the race. And right now, I unfortunately see that happening again. But the most confident I would be in right now was Noah Gregson.
How about you, Armani? Is there anyone that you think of these open cars, open teams can actually make some legit noise? For me, I think Kaz Gralla put on a pretty good show 2 years ago at the Daytona 500. If it not for like his car, like lighting on fire, he was having a pretty good run. He's a talented young driver. I think, I like to root for him. He's from the Northeast. So, but is there anyone you think can really make some noise?
I think the two biggest ones are Gregson and Kaz Gralla. Gregson, just because Beard Motorsports, that's an experienced Daytona 500 team. They know what they need to do to get into the show. Yeah, they didn't make it last year, but then again, just getting to the Daytona 500 last year was ridden so much controversy. You can argue on pure speed, Gregson should have made the race. As for maybe Kaz Gralla, I'm not entirely sold on the Money Team. Granted, they do seem they have a decent amount of funding behind them, but just a team just like that, where so much controversy, you don't even know if they're going to make the field or not. Like everyone said, I can either see them making the show or I can see them completely missing it. A team that actually right now, I'm looking at lap averages. I'm looking at the NASCAR. One team that's consistently in the bottom is the team with Jacques Villeneuve. In practice one, they were 40th in lap averages with the 50.6 lap time. And then in practice two, they were 41st. So I feel like if you want to be somewhat safe, you have to be at least top 35 consistently. And this team, they're barely hovering inside the top 40, or someone says outside the top 40. So you need to gain some consistency. And I just don't see that with the 2017.
Yeah, that's tough because I feel like a big name like Jock would be really cool to have in the race. But yeah, I mean, if you look at practice, even you go like next gen testing, they were very slow. So I'm rooting for them. I mean, I really am. My birthday number is 27. That's my college soccer number is 27. You got to root for 2-7, but I don't know. I do not see them getting in. Again, Gregson's, he's a guy. I think he's the guy. I think he and Kaz Gralla can definitely make some noise. I'm excited to see Gregson, because I think he will. I think he'll lock himself in tonight. I'm excited to see him in a pretty legit ride in the Daytona 500. He's a guy that, has the talent to really do some things. And then this will be good prep for him when he starts racing for Cowlig in a lot of those cup races that'll be racing for in the future. So we're rooting for you, Noah, if you're watching, and we know you are tonight.
How silly are we going to be if Noah Gregson misses out of the Daytona 500? He's four of us locked the number 62 car in.
He is not missing out.
Not as silly as Will locking in Kyle Larson being winless. I ain't never let that go.
Hey, Armani, you have a Colts hat on, so I
don't know what you're talking about.
That's kind of all we need to say there. I mean,
Mac Jones is your quarterback. He has the mobility of a tree stump.
Hey, at least he doesn't make stupid decisions like Carson.
Yeah, well, now they say the Panthers are a leading candidate for Carson Wentz, so
Woo!
Hey, I'd take Carson over Cam Newton. Let me tell you, he felt dangerous coming back.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I'm still, Cam Newton, not a fan. Not a fan. I like Mac a lot better than Cam, that's for sure. I think we got a good future. But let's talk about, so the clash, there was a lot of aggression there. We saw Ty Dillon race like an absolute animal.
Oh, you want to talk about feeling dangerous?
Hey, he was feeling dangerous as hell at the Busch clash. I mean, I guess at points it made for entertaining television, but at points it was just absolutely insane. Let's take it the other way. Armani, I'll start with you. What do you expect from the racing in both the duels and the 500? Do you expect any of that kind of aggression to carry over? There was a lot. I mean, you look at Logano and Kyle Busch, they were pretty clean, but there was some big bumps. One of the passes Logano used, that was a big bump. You look at Haley and Larson, there was some aggression there. And of course, like we said, Ty Dillon. What do you expect on, I guess, just aggression levels in both duels and 500?
The thing is with the part shortages with the next gen car, it's so hard to gauge. You have drivers like Logano where they're like, I don't care. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do what I got to do to win. And then that's the driver perspective. But then you probably got the team owners who are like, we don't got a lot of these cars out there. I mean, some teams, I believe even Kevin Harvick is one of them, where they don't even have a backup car. So if they wreck that car for the 500, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's not just for one race. Remember, these cars are supposed to last throughout the entire season. So teams will have a lot of cars, and you wreck one, that's going to be a lot more than it did even last year. So you are going to have some sort of aggression, but I think you're either going to have two phases. You're either going to have the drivers that are aggressive and don't care, or you're just going to have the drivers who are just going to stay put no matter what. So I can honestly see a scenario where you have a lot of drivers go to the back. You see that a lot in recent years where it's like some drivers will just stay in the back. They won't risk anything. Then you have the drivers up front just going all for it. I think you could see that this year to a greater extent, because usually that's around maybe like 2, 3, at most 5 cars who go to the back. You could see more than half the field just going to the back, staying put, at least until the last lap.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think it was BJ McLeod the other day was basically like, yeah, man, like I'm racing just to keep my car. Like that's pretty much it. Both duels, the race itself, I'm just racing. And I know small team, underfunded, but still, I mean, that's a mindset of a guy that's respected around by other drivers. Like, hey, no, I'm just looking to keep my car. So I like your point there. Will, if you remember last year at the Daytona 500, there was an early wreck, early in stage 1, took out a lot of big names. Do you think we'll see something like that again? Because, obviously we always have the big one, final stage, getting close. But that was something I think a lot of us did not expect last year, was a lot of big names going out early in stage 1.
I think this year we're going to have more of a classic 500 with the car situation, the part situation. What I mean by classic 500 is the first half of the race, you may get a solo spin, a little bit of contact. You may have a parts failure, an engine failure, something like that. You're going to have a couple of early cautions. You're going to get a long riding period, 3/4 of the way through the race. And then I think, you have to weigh risk versus reward. I think if you're in the top 10, you have to kind of go for it. It's the Daytona 500. And even though you may have parts issues, may have this, even if you're a small team and this is your only car, if you can win over $1 million for your team, you're going to go do that.
Right.
But if you're sitting outside the top 10, it just may not be worth it. The part situation is horrendous right now. And I didn't realize how serious it was till I really listened to Door Bumper Clear and other podcasts. And it really made me realize, this could be a different style Daytona 500. If I'm in the duels tomorrow, unless I'm an open car trying to race, why? We have proven that this race can be won from any position. It's like, you hate to think that the duels are irrelevant, but especially in a situation like this, with this pack, well, we really don't know the package. We'll find that out. But with the cars the way they are, is it even really worth running the duels? Obviously, you have to. You want to follow tradition. I enjoy it just like everyone else. But if I qualify on the front row, I'm going to run a lap or two. Now I'm going to park my race car, and I'm not going to touch it again until Sunday. Again, we've seen this race won from first. I can't remember what the furthest back starting position is, but I'm sure we've had guys deep in the 30s win the Daytona 500 before. It's not uncommon that much anymore. So I don't think we get a big wreck just because I think people are going to be tense with these race cars. Obviously, near the end, I'm sure something is going to happen. But I think we get a classic race, a couple of solo things here or there. We're going to ride for a little while. And then really that last, 50, 60 miles, that's when we're going to go and really attack the race.
Hey, that works for me. That sounds good to me. I think I agree with you. I think that's most likely what we will see. But Tyler, I'll take it to you here. We saw Ty Dillon, like we said, go nuts last week. Joey Logano came out today and basically said, dude, I don't care what it is. I'm racing like the duels every lap is the final lap of the 500. Who are the guys you think are going to go crazy, are going to be aggressive in both the duels, maybe even in qualifying, push their car as hard as they can, and then even in the race itself?
So I think William actually hit it on the head really well on what's probably going to go down here for the next couple of days. So when I was at the Clash, one thing that I learned was when those cars would make impacts with each other, the car actually held together really well. It didn't look like it was a brittle car. So that's one good thing. However, that is a race they were going 60 miles per hour at the fastest. This is a 200-mile super speedway speed kind of race. And so obviously those cars are not going to hold their shape if they bump and bang and they slam into the wall. Those cars are going to be done for. And we know about the parts shortage. I mean, they've been talking about it. Hell, I think the winner of the Daytona 500 is only going to be on display for like one day. Yeah. And then they get to take the car right back. Never heard of that before. And here at the Daytona Duels, you want to get a feel for how it's going to be, but you do not want to push it to the stake where you could wreck your car in the duel and then you wreck in the 500. If you're in that situation, then super speedway cars, you're in big trouble. And you got Atlanta coming up, which sounds like they're going to have similar cars that they're going to use for Daytona and Talladega. So I think for the duels, you're definitely going to have a lot of people kind of like rookies, sophomores, open charter cars. They're going to be the ones that are going to be racing hard in those duels. First 50% of the 500, I think they're going to try to put on a good show because they know how big this race is, but I don't think they're going to be super aggressive until the second half. I bet you, though, when that third stage starts, it's going to be a crazy race, and it's going to be one of those accidents that happens right there where a lot of people are just like, oh, there goes a lot of cars. I feel like we're going to see that big one, but like William said, it's probably going to be near the end, not in the first half, especially on how careful everyone's been with this car.
Yeah, good points all around. I want to now take it to what do you who do you guys think is a big name that you kind of expect to flop? So I personally think it's going to be Kyle Larson. He just has not had success at super speedways recently. I think he had his best finish maybe it was a couple of years ago. I think he finished fourth. But to me, he's kind of, you can count on him at a mile and a half. At this point, you can kind of count on him at a short track. But when a super speedway comes around, he is not a guy that comes to your head quick when you think of, yeah, I can count on Kyle Larson, get me a top 5, maybe winning this thing. So I expect, again, Kyle Larson to just not be lucky, honestly. I feel like the luck for him is just not there where a Michael McDowell, who else? Some Blaney, he's both talented and lucky at super speedways. So who do you expect to be a big name to flop? I'm going to start with Will.
There's not one that just sorely sticks out. I mean, I think of a guy like Keselowski, but literally I could see him being a dark horse pick, or I could see him being a complete flop with a new team. But I'll go with a guy like Kevin Harvick. Harvick, really ever since his 500 win, every now and then certain drivers, it's like they'll win a race or two within a 2 or 3 year period at a plate track, and you'll be like, man, these guys are great restrictor plate drivers. And I fell into that trap with Kevin Harvick for years. He had won a couple of Budweiser shootouts. He had won the 500. He won a race at Talladega with a really beautiful move on Jamie McMurray late on the very final lap. And, I kind of fell into this trap of Kevin Harvick's a fantastic racer at Daytona and Talladega. His numbers really haven't said that much since then. And so I always try to buy into Harvick, and it just doesn't tend to happen. So I'm going to continue with that trend just because there's nobody else that really just pops to me. I think Larson's a good pick, just not notorious for running very well at Daytona and Talladega. Maybe a guy like Truex who could he doesn't ever really pop to you on a track like this. So,
I think he's due though, Will. I honestly do. I think he's due.
and it wouldn't surprise me. And I'm one of those guys where, Sunday I'm going to be so excited and we're going to watch 500 miles. And at some point, to kind of add to what we were talking about before, at some point, even with all the cars on the line, with all these cars and potential seasons at stake, if you wreck multiple cars, at some point, they're going to all race in a huge pack and you're going to look at them and go, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And something's going to happen. And then we'll probably go 500 miles of nothing but excitement and then have Martin Truex Jr. win the race and nobody crazy exciting. And then Martin's going to get out of the car at his home track in Daytona and talk about how it's just great to win the Daytona 500. And then we'll roll on with things.
Speak that into existence. I would love that, dude. Martin is due. Martin is absolutely due. Remember what was it? When he lost to Denny by, like an inch, like literally.
Yep.
So he is due. What about you, Armani? Big name that you think could flop this weekend?
I got to go my boy Kyle Larson. He's only got 5 top 10s ever in Daytona ever since he was a rookie in 2014. He's only led 17 laps. His average finish is 21.1. He has more DNFs at the Daytona 500 than he does top 10s, 6 DNFs in Daytona. He's just never been a good plate racer. There's only 2 times I've ever remembered seeing Kyle Larson in a position in his entire Cup career where I was like, oh, he could actually win a Daytona Talladega. 2017 in the 500 before he ran out of gas, and 2017 Fall Talladega before Daniel Suarez and Chase Elliott just decided, I'm just going to send this man into the wall. Those are the only 2 times I've ever seen Kyle Larson in a position where he can win a super speedway race. That's just not his forte, whether it's just because of the driving style or he just gets unlucky. This type of racing is just Kyle Larson's Achilles heel. And because of that, I don't see it changing.
Yeah, I think too, like Larson, we talk about how like pure he is behind the wheel, but he's also pretty aggressive. He is sort of an aggressive driver. And I think that sort of plays into a little bit that kind of nature where he doesn't know, like, should I be aggressive? This is a different kind of talent behind the wheel. Obviously he's got pure talent, but this is sort of a different kind of talent. And I think he just has not been able to put it all together yet. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Kyle Larson is a great pick. Tyler, who do you have?
So just to add on to the Kyle Larson real quickly, on super speedway races in his entire Cup career, not one top 5 finish at either Daytona or Talladega for Kyle Larson. It's so crazy to say that. But if I had to make a pick, you guys might be shocked on who I think is not going to have a good finish. I don't think Joey Logano is going to actually have a good finish here in this race. The reason why I say that, I think he can win a stage. I think he's going to have a fast car. One thing that I worry about with him is when it comes to these kind of races here, he's going to be super aggressive. And I think he is going to be the man who gets unlucky once again. Expect Joey Logano to run in the front, but I'm making a gamble saying that he will not see the checkered flag here in this Daytona 500.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. It's the style that the aggression that he has. I hear you on that. I don't know, but something also tells me like he's so pissed about what happened last year. Like, I don't know. I just feel like he could shock us. He really could. I've seen a lot of people are betting on Joey to win this thing. So we will see. I love watching Joey at a play track.
He's going to be an absolute boom or bust. There's no other way. He's either going to finish first or second, or he's going to wreck out. I feel like there's going to be no in between for Joey Logano.
That's exactly what it is. All right, let's pivot now. So we know the guy that we think, is going to flop, that probably big name. How about a dark horse, kind of under the radar guy? I'm going to go here with, I'll preview my pick as you followed me. I think Justin Haley is absolutely 100% going to win this thing. I'm putting a big bet on Justin Haley. He's a dark horse, but to me, something tells me Eric Jones is a guy that could really get it done. He's had pretty good success on super speedways. He looked like he had a lot of speed at the Clash. I think Petty GMS is taking a next step to be a lot better what they were last year in years prior. Also, Eric Jones last year in that Richard Petty ride, he was pretty good. He was pretty solid, pretty consistent. I feel like he's confident. I feel like he thinks right now, all right, I'm the guy on this team. And so I would not be surprised if Eric Jones kind of shocks the world. Tyler, I'll go right back to you. Who do you think is kind of a dark horse guy?
I'm going to go with Eric Almirola. I think Eric Almirola is a dark horse in this one. I see some faces here. That's kind of like a kind of thing, but for some reason, something is kind of leading me towards him actually having a good run here in his final Daytona 500. That the number 10, the Fords have looked really good in the first couple of practices, and something just tells me that he's going to be able to do something that he could do similar to Talladega. I think he could run near the front. I mean, remember last year he won one of the duels.
Yeah,
he just got caught up in that first accident. So I really think there is a good chance that we could see him here finish near the top 5, be a good pick if you're going with like a dark horse, wanting a surpriser. I think Eric Almirola is going to be one.
Yeah, 2021 dual winner. Didn't have speed, last year, but still a guy that's won on plate tracks before. I like that pick. I think it would be a great story in his final year if Almirola got it done. That'd be pretty awesome. Will, I'll take it to you. Dark horse pick.
Well, it is hard not to pick a colleague guy. I do think Daniel Hemrick could play a role in this.
Oh, come on.
And listen. And what a story it could be that he wins his first 2 races back to back, and the second being the 500. The first gets him a championship. The second's the 500. But my pick is going to be Austin Cendrick. I think people, everybody wants to pick Penske guys, including me. I think it's hard not to pick Penske guys, Blaney, Logano, and then the Fords. You've seen how fast they are. But that 2 car has been blazing fast, and Austin Cendrick is a very, very solid talent. I think he's just somebody people aren't going to think about because you figure he's a rookie. He's Austin Cendrick, and some people would argue that they can try to make a point that he's a downgrade from Keselowski, when honestly I think he's going to be a bright future for Penske. And I think people are just mainly focused on the other 2 Penske cars. So I think Cendrick could play a role, and obviously I think if he's there, you never know, maybe keep an eye out for Harrison Burton, but I'm going to go Austin Cendrick as the dark horse.
I love that pick. I really do. I love that pick. I think it's an under the radar Ford, an under the radar Penske that could really get it done. He's super talented. I know his kind of thing is kind of road courses, but he's had plenty of success on super speedways. So I like Cendrick. Armani, to you, your dark horse pick.
All right, so I'm looking at the betting.
Is it going to be Suarez? God, no.
So I'm looking at the betting odds for the Daytona 500. Right now, the driver who has the best odds to win is Denny Hamlin. He's 17-2. Next up is Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson at 10-1, which Kyle Larson being 10-1 at the Daytona 500. I love Kyle Larson, but he should not even be close to a top 3 Daytona 500 betting on pick. If you bet on Kyle Larson for Daytona 500, you're just throwing your money away. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So I got a couple drivers in mind. The first one I'm going to go with is Christopher Bell at 28-1. And I was going to say this. Here are some of the drivers that are ahead of Christopher Bell. Bubba Wallace, Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman, and we'll throw William Byron in there as well.
What real quick, what has Alex Bowman done on a super speedway?
Alex Bowman right now is 18-1. He's tied with Kevin Harvick. That's what I'm saying. I believe that Christopher Bell would do better because Christopher Bell's a very good plate racer. He's shown in the Cup. He's shown in Xfinity. He's one of like the few 2 or 3 Toyota drivers that have actually up front of plate tracks. I would take Bell over Bowman. I'd take him over Harvick. I'd take him over Bubba Wallace. I'd take him over William Byron. So that's one driver I'm going to mention. The next one I'm going to mention is Tyler Reddick. He has 30-1 odds, actually right behind Christopher Bell. Again, Reddick has that. He has that balance where he's aggressive enough, but he's not so aggressive to the point, minus 2020 in the fall of Daytona, but he's not aggressive to the point where he's just going to wreck the entire field. He's got that fine balance Tyler Reddick has where it's like, it was Brad Keselowski in the old days. It is Joey Logano when he's not on cocaine. Like, he has that fine balance. And the last driver I'm going to mention is last year's Daytona 500 winner, Michael McDowell. He has a 50-1 odds of winning the Daytona 500. So you're telling me that you're going to take someone like a Briscoe, who's only going to be in the second 500 after Stardust Racing had a god-awful season, take him over an Austin Cendrick, a rookie, take him over Alex Bowman, who's done nothing to 500. You're going to take those drivers, at least according to Vegas, over Michael McDowell. Now, granted, Vegas probably knows a lot more than we do, but Michael McDowell at 50-1 odds, I think that's a great underdog pick.
Yeah, I saw on my, I guess 50-1 plus 5,000 it was on my book that I use. And I saw that and I was like, are you kidding me? Michael McDowell plus 5,000. I mean, I think his odds were tied with Justin Haley.
His odds are tied with
who I'll be
Haley.
betting on. But
right
I saw
underneath
that.
them is actually Daniel Suarez.
Yeah. So again, you're like Michael McDowell had two amazing. He finished third at Dega. So he won and he finished third at Dega. I think he has a really good shot. I think he's a guy. I would not be surprised if he runs up front for most of the race because believe it or not, he has a lot of confidence in himself. He thinks he can go out and win. And the way he talks, he is not scared of the moment at all. So I like that pick. I think he's a guy too. Watch out. So I want to now take it to the viewership. So I've looked at the weather. It looks pretty good. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the weather looks good. And especially Sunday too. I think like there's like a 5% chance of rain on Sunday. I'm knocking on wood here that we get that. We saw really good, solid, strong numbers to open the season with the Busch Clash. Will, what do you expect for the TV viewership? Do you expect kind of the boom to kind of fall a little bit? People were hyped for the Clash, maybe not what they expected, or do you see, no, it's a continued boom? We're going to have some great ratings. I've always said, I think it's weather dependent. If you can get good weather on Sunday, you hyped up the Busch Clash. It was a pretty good show. Now I think you've got your momentum. What do you think?
Well, when you first said, I think 10 million in the open, at first I cringed, but then I forgot 10 million is not very unheard of for the 500, especially if it is scheduled. So I'm going to predict anywhere from 12 to 13 million right now. I think
you shook your head at me when I said that.
I thought about it. Once I thought about it, I'm like, all right, that's practical because I remember a couple years ago, 11 million was kind of what it was.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the last 500 that was on like a Sunday and everything was going well. It was 11 million. I was like, okay, so he's not that far off. So I'm going to go 12 to 13. I think we gain a couple million just based off of the Clash, what we kind of gained from momentum there. And, who knows? I mean, the Super Bowl had 112 million. So I would, if we could get just a small sliver of those fans to tune into the 500 back-to-back weeks of a major event on Sunday evening, it'd be huge. I'm not going to go out there and say anything crazy like 15, but I'll go 12 to 13 million, riding the momentum from the Clash, have the race on Sunday. Sometimes I swear God hates the Daytona 500. Yeah. So if we can have it on Sunday, I think we're going to be that 12 to 13 million range. And who knows, maybe we'll even get luckier and get a bigger number.
That'd be awesome. One of the things I did not know, and I'm not saying at all that, they're going to put on a great show, but I did notice that the NBA All-Star game is also on Sunday. So that's something we'll have to compete against. I know that's a lot later, but again, who knows if a short storm comes, right? Push back an hour or two, they'll try to get it in. I don't know. But that's something you got to think too, that we'll be up against the NBA All-Star and their coverage, their pregame coverage. So, we got to put that into perspective. Tyler, I'll take it to you. Expectations on the viewership.
Oh man, I don't even know what numbers to really throw here. When he said 13 million, I was shocked when he said that. But now I'm looking at some of the viewership that we've seen the last few years. That might not be a bad number to go with. I know some of my other predictions have been off the wall, kind of crazy, but I think this is going to be the highest viewership we have seen in definitely the last 7 years. And that's including a time when Joey Logano, when he won the 500, that was Jeff Gordon's last race. That was 13.3 million. We could be seeing numbers like that. I think it's going to be hard to beat that number, but I'm thinking maybe around 12 million, 11.5. That's what I can see here because brand new car, it's really a big talk right now. There's a lot of with the brand new car in 2013, I remember viewership spiked a lot for that race. Now, granted, I think it was because Danica Patrick was involved in that race, but still, when you get a brand new car, when you get as much hype as you've seen so far with NASCAR in the last couple of months, you're going to get good viewership for the Great American Race.
Yeah, I think so. You have the numbers up right now. Wasn't it like like 5 million or 6, something terrible last year with the rain out.
4.8 million.
Yeah. So I mean that's awful.
Well, the biggest selling point for this weekend is that it's Eric Almirola's last Daytona 500. I mean, that's got to
That'll
be
easily bring in 20.
That's got to be worth a couple million.
I mean, don't
That's
worry.
funny.
Lead dog and Hendrick will probably win the pole again.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, Alex Bowman, he always wins the 500 pole.
Please, the last thing I need is Alex Bowman getting a front row start for the 5th year in a row, and his fans proclaiming that's enough for him to be a Hall of Famer already.
Yeah, you and Alex Bowman fans, you guys do not get along great. Well, honestly, you and a lot of drivers.
You know what's funny? this man says he loves Hendrick, but unless it's Chase Elliott, he shits on the other 3 drivers.
No,
so
that's
much.
not true. He is a huge Jeff Gordon fan. I got you, Will. That's
No,
the
I'm
goal
saying
right there.
he shits on Larson, he shits on Bowman, and he shits on Byron. I almost forgot the other one.
Usually the biggest fans of a team are usually the biggest critics of a team. How about that? I'll give them that.
I mean,
There
look
we
at the
go.
team on my hat.
All right, Armani, what about you? So that, I mean, that's so 4.5 million we had last year. So honestly, we only can go up. Weather should be good. Again, that's the key. If the weather stays good, I think you have a lot of momentum. Thoughts on viewership from you?
I do think we got a lot of momentum with the Clash, especially because the Rams won the Super Bowl. Though
Yeah.
I do think a missed opportunity, and NASCAR couldn't really control this. If the Super Bowl was on Fox this year, not on NBC, it would have been the perfect transition because you got the Clash on Fox and you would have the Super Bowl on Fox and then the Daytona 500 on Fox.
I agree with you.
That would have
I
been
actually
the
agree.
perfect opportunity. It helps a little bit because it's NBC, because NBC and NASCAR, but I think that's a major missed opportunity. I'm going to put a bigger number out there. I think we get 14 to 15 million. For one reason, really only. Well, besides, the new car, the momentum for the Clash. Don't underestimate the power that Jacques Villeneuve might bring to the Daytona 500, especially if he makes the show. You might have a lot of Formula One fans tune into the Daytona 500, even though some Formula One fans don't like Jacques Villeneuve for some reason. But I can see his presence in the race pulling in that international audience.
That's a little bit of a hot take. I feel like I don't
Remember,
think
he's not Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
He's still a Formula One. He's still a former Formula One world champion and an Indy 500 winner.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's definitely a big name. I'm more on board with the fact that we could possibly bring 15 mil. Is it because he's going to bring an additional 5? I don't know about that.
No, I think we'll have like 13. I think he will bring that extra 1 or 2.
Hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I mean, he is a big name. I will say he was
Not
a
as
big
big
name.
as Cody Ware, though.
Not as big as Cody Ware. He was big in the 90s, which I think might hurt it a little bit. But hey, he's a big name. You got Biffle back. That's a pretty big name. Maybe some guys, tune in and say, "Oh, look at this. We got Biffle back. Maybe I'll tune in." I don't know. But I like your optimism. That is we need more optimists like Armani on this show. That's for sure.
Facts.
So, yeah. All right. Let's now take it. It's the time, ladies and gentlemen. We need to pick a winner for this thing. I'm going to start here. Justin Haley, Cowlick Racing. They're going to get the biggest win in motorsports in all of 2022. The big show is going to start. The season is going to start with a Justin Haley and a Cowlick Motorsports win. That's what I'm going with. He is super talented when it comes to super speedways. He actually has a win in the Cup Series. Yes, rain short win, but it was at a super speedway. He has won. He's confident. He's in the ride. This is his ride. Cowlick chose this guy. They had a lot of people they could choose from. They chose Justin Haley to run a full season in that car. To me, I think Justin Haley's going to win. And then if you actually want my legit pick, Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney.
This man backtracked. This man's talking for weeks. Like, oh, Justin Haley's going to win this. Justin Haley's going to win this thing.
Justin Haley.
But actually, Ryan Blaney.
Blaney.
If Ryan Blaney wins, I said it all along.
Yeah, asterisk Ryan Blaney. If he wins, I'm going to cut out this part about Justin Haley and just keep Ryan Blaney. And no, for real. I think those two guys you have to watch. Ryan Blaney, I think he's won 3 of the last 9 super speedway races. Super talented, always puts on a good show, always running up front. The Penske's are guys you always have to watch. Ford has had a lot of success recently with the Daytona 500. Yeah, albeit, sure, Denny Hamlin and Toyota. But on top of that, it's been the Ford's kind of show. So Ryan Blaney, Justin Haley, those two guys, I'm picking to win. They're going to win together. It's going to be a tie, and they're both going to get credited with a win. Tyler, I'll take it to you.
Oh, man. So many good options here. It's really hard not to go for a Ford in this race. Ryan Blaney is definitely probably the best pick to go with, especially with the super speedway wins. Do I want to lock him in? I'm seriously debating about that because really there's a lot of good candidates. I still think someone like Joey Logano could potentially do good, but like I said, I feel like he's going to be the guy who's going to make a mistake and get taken out. I just feel like that. As far as some other drivers go, Toyota, they look like the next best thing. I mean, you can't really count Denny Hamlin that far off when it comes to a Daytona 500. Always been really good. But, man, those Fords have been fast this week. So I like your pick. I think Ryan Blaney is definitely a good one to go with here in this 500. I think it's finally going to come together for him, and he's finally going to win that Great American Race.
You know what they say? 1 vote for Ryan Blaney is 1 vote for Justin Haley. So we've got 2 votes.
Whoa, hold on. No. I said nothing about a Chevy in the contention. One. Let's just say that.
2 votes for Ryan Blaney, 2 votes for Justin Haley, 2 votes for Ryan Blaney. Will, let's take it to you.
So, this is a guy that I've kind of consistently had on my overrated list. But I think it's his time, and don't call it a sweep, but Ryan Blaney is my pick for the 500.
Oh my gosh.
I know we did not plan this. I had it written down earlier. We did not plan this. I'm sure something crazy will happen to him at some point on Sunday. You could I think our best strategy is we all record each driver that's in the race and just say they're going to win.
Yeah.
And then we'll edit it into the video so we sound smart later. But Blaney's just the one guy that, I guess maybe like I used to get suckered into Kevin Harvick, I'm kind of suckered into Penske because they're always around. They're always up front. They're always working together. So, I like Cendrick as my underdog. I guess I'll pick his teammate and Ryan Blaney as the favorite. He's just been so good on plate races. You feel like it's going to eventually work out. He's going to win a 500 one of these days. Why not make it right now? So we'll see if Armani holds up the end of the bargain here and makes it a clean sweep, but put Blaney in the W column for me.
3 votes for Blaney, 3 votes for Justin Haley. Armani.
You're not voting Justin Haley, I'm telling you.
Armani, is it a clean sweep?
It is not a clean sweep. I am not picking Ryan Blaney to win, despite him having the 3rd best odds to win the Daytona 500. I'm going to go with the driver who's kind of in that middle.
Here we go.
Will he also is considered one of Will's overrated lists. He actually won the Daytona 500 that Ryan Blaney finished runner-up in. I'm going to go with Kurt Busch becoming a 2-time Daytona 500 champion. I think with Bubba Wallace as his teammate, this is the one time I genuinely could see Bubba Wallace actually helping Kurt Busch because Bubba Wallace is so good at super speedways. I think that's going to transfer to Kurt Busch. 2311's got a great super speedway program. Kurt Busch, veteran driver, knows how to get it done. I think that 45 car goes to victory lane in its first race in existence. And by the way, Kurt Busch has 18-1 odds to win the 500, tied with Alex Bowman and Kevin Harvick.
I'm trying not to be like, what the hell? You guys
picked him to win the championship last year.
And I think you're picking him to win the biggest race in the sport.
I think it's a solid pick. Now, of course, NASCAR social media would just be a nightmare for the next week. Bubba could literally finish second by a half of an inch, and they would still talk about how this just proves that Kurt Busch is the superior talent at 2311. And But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a terrible pick.
If I want to pick Suarez, I mean, he's got better odds. He's got the same odds as Eric Jones and Daniel.
We have better odds of all three of us being right about Ryan Blaney than Daniel Suarez winning the 500 on mine.
That's true. That's true.
The sad thing is that's actually right.
Yeah, I mean, we can hold on to that. I do want to go into one more quick thing. Kyle Busch. We're talking Kurt Busch. Kyle Busch hasn't gotten it done. Really, honestly, hasn't really had a ton of success in general at super speedways. Early on in his career, he was pretty good at them. He's had some, close shots at it. I think 2 second places maybe in the 500. Does anybody give Kyle Busch a chance to pull this thing out?
Never underestimate an angry Kyle Busch. I'll just say that. That man is angry right now, especially being that close to winning the Clash. I would not be surprised if he's a big factor. Honestly, any Toyota upsetting those Fords, I'm not against, honestly.
What about two? Think of it like this real quick, Will. The M&M's sponsor leaving, what a story that would be, to put that 18 in victory lane and M&M's. Will, what do you think?
I don't know. I just feel like, when you looked at Kyle 10 years ago, you're like, yeah, he's going to win one.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the time has kind of clicked by. And ironically, a guy that he didn't gel with great as a teammate years ago, I think he's kind of going to be like Tony Stewart. I think he's going to be a guy that does everything in the sport but win the 500. I just feel like it's not that the 500 fits anybody's style, but I don't know. I just feel like Kyle in the 500, it's not just a guarantee anymore. I feel like it would have happened by now. I mean, he's been around in this sport for over 15 years at the highest level. You just feel like his opportunities have kind of already, obviously he still probably has another 5-6 opportunities to win the thing, but and that's a short career for him, honestly. But I don't know. I just feel like it would have happened by now. I'm sure Kyle will be up front at some point. But right now, I just don't have a feeling. I feel like he's one of those where it's going to have to build, and you're going to kind of feel that magic of maybe this is the weekend for Kyle. And I just don't really have that right now. I don't picture it.
Armani, any thoughts?
Same thing. I just can't see Kyle Busch winning a Daytona 500. He's never really been that strong there. He has been strong. He's never been able to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, that's it. Honestly, like he either has a good, like a really good finish, like right there, or he's out early and he really doesn't even finish.
I think it's the perfect comparison. Like when we're talking about Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. With Ryan, you kind of see it every year he's there, and you just have that gut feeling that eventually it is going to happen. Mm-hmm. With Kyle, I don't have that. I don't have that gut feeling that he will one day be a Daytona 500 champion.
Wow. Strong words. I tend to agree. I think the moment for him has kind of passed. Will, I agree with you there. Would I love to see it happen? M&M's in victory lane last year as a sponsor, that'd be a great story. I think it would help Kyle big time, in terms of sponsorship moving forward. I hear that's kind of an issue right now. Which is crazy to think about, that Kyle Busch is having trouble finding sponsorship, but that's the reality of the sport in 2022. It's not easy to find it. So crazy. I'm looking forward to this weekend. Any final thoughts from anyone on what should be an amazing Sunday?
Here's my question I'll pose to everyone, and then we can throw it back to me later if you want. And who wins on Sunday? We're going to assume everything runs Sunday. We've got a ton of viewership. Who needs to win the 500 to put the sport in the best situation it can be moving forward from the Clash in the 500? Who do you think that guy, the biggest headline, the biggest story, a needle mover, this guy, if he wins the 500 on Sunday, this is potential chance for NASCAR to grow something over the next, months? I'll start here. Three would come to mind. Obviously, Bubba Wallace, huge, name in the sport now. I think he has the talent to do it. I think it would be an amazing story if he were to pull it off. This is just me saying it. Kaz Grala, imagine if Floyd Mayweather was being interviewed about winning the Daytona 500. Like, imagine how big of a story that would be. And then
funny enough, I think Chase Elliott is the most popular driver. I think he is a guy that I saw something the other night. It was like, and I tweeted about it. The sport is missing a Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon was Chase Elliott, but was able to literally be a national sports figure. You know, you could say Jeff Gordon just about any setting with anybody, and they say, oh, the NASCAR driver, the race car driver. You know, they probably could even give you his number in the car. That's not the case now. And Chase Elliott has the potential. Jeff Gordon literally said it himself. He's like, Chase Elliott can be the face of the sport, but you know, he needs something. So I think if he were to win the Daytona 500, he goes on this media tour. People see how good of a dude he is, how talented he is. He's a good looking dude, which I honestly think helps, you know? So I would say those three. And I think probably the most realistic option of those are Bubba Wallace. I really think he could get it done. And Chase Elliott, I do not see Money Mayweather being interviewed about winning the 500. Armani, what do you got on that question?
Money Mayweather's a good one. Bubba Wallace is a good one. What about the third celebrity owner in the sport? Daniel Suarez wins the 500. Can you imagine the reaction?
Is there a mute button?
Mr. 305.
This dude is getting paid by Trackhouse to promote Daniel
I
Suarez.
wish.
I am wearing a Daniel Suarez hat. He is marketing to Daniel Suarez's team.
I did think Suarez does make sense. Armani, explain.
Listen. You got a national driver, so you got the national market. Probably, I believe he would be the first non-American to win the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Then you got Pitbull, a team owner in Victory Lane, Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide. Just imagine the storylines, especially because Pitbull, Florida, winning the Daytona 500. Just you think about it. Like, you want to talk about Mayweather, you want to talk about, you know, Michael Jordan and Bubba Wallace. Daniel Suarez is basically the next best thing. And it would be even more bigger because that's a because you genuinely would not see that coming. You're like, when the hell? Suarez winning the 500? Like, what?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I honestly agree with you. I know we kind of joke about it, but that would be, I mean, he's the international guy right now, you know, that kind of represents the sport. And so that could travel wavelengths, to be honest with you. So I like that. Tyler, what do you think?
Haley Deegan. I mean, no. I mean, honestly, if she would have won it, I mean, that would be huge for the sport. No, you know, all those picks, awesome picks. I would definitely say that Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez. I know I was giving him slack, but yeah, he would be an awesome person to win the 500 for sure. That would be huge. I think if we could look at two different sides, the new side with newer fans coming into the sport and the old fans who are still been there since day one. I think, honestly, one that would be a good one to get is the number 21 of Harrison Burton. I think that would actually be really good for the sport if they win the 500. You're going to gain the old fans. You're going to be like, oh yeah, Glenwood, they've been there since day one. That's awesome. And some fans who probably left the sport and came back, they're all going to remember that number 21 machine. I mean, how can you forget the number 21 involved in NASCAR? But it's a new face. Harrison Burton, brand new to the Cup Series. I see a lot of good things potentially happening with that. And I think that would be a good story and a good situation if he were to win the Daytona 500.
I honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised with the answers we just put out there. This was an unplanned question, and I think we kind of hit the nail on the head with those answers. Will, what do you think?
Well, for one, I like that. I didn't even think about it from that route, the historical route. I mean, if the 43 or the 21 could win, that's pretty cool. Even in a sense, even though I think the way that Hendrick has marketed the 24 is a little different, it'd still be cool to see the 24 back in victory lane for the 500, but not as big as the 21 or the 43. I think in a sense, it's kind of which route do you really hope happens? I think the two biggest names is Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace, I think, is still a good chunk ahead of Chase in terms of just raw popularity. Now, Bubba winning the Daytona 500, there's pros and cons to that. There's a lot of pros. There's obviously he wins the Daytona 500. He's the biggest, the biggest win he'll ever score in his career, most likely. Big news. A lot of people. I mean, you're probably talking about Lewis Hamilton, LeBron James, NFL players. I mean, you're going to get that sort of level of interaction. If Bubba Wallace were to go out, even maybe a Floyd Mayweather who's there at the race, getting to see someone who looks like him winning the race. I mean, that's a big deal. That transcends the sport. But, then you have the negative side of it, which is it stinks that this is even a negative side of it. But unfortunately, the NASCAR fan base takes things a little rough sometimes. And there would be a lot of, I think there's a chance the 500 could almost, in a sense, get watered down in a negative way because people don't like who won the race. Mm-hmm. In the sense of Chase Elliott, and I'm a huge Chase Elliott guy. Chase Elliott's really missing just the personality that Jeff had. I wish he could crack that open because it would benefit him greatly and the sport greatly, but I just don't know if he thinks that he's that guy. But Chase winning would be huge. Obviously, I think a lot of it would depend on what his emotion and stuff would be like. The last thing you want is him to get out the car and be like, yeah, we won Daytona. That's pretty cool. But if you could kind of see Chase win the 500, see that family connection with Bill Elliott and what he did between pole awards and winning the 500 and the legend he was, and to kind of see that family connection, bridging the old generation with the new generation of the Elliots, because there's a lot of old fans that really like Chase Elliott and a lot of new fans that really like Chase Elliott. For the overall health of the sport, probably Chase Elliott. For the mainstream pop culture shock headline, gets a lot of eyeballs, Bubba Wallace. But, I'm rooting for both of them. I would be more than happy to see either one of them win the 500. I think it's kind of a line you got to pull. Which one do you want to get? So those would be my two picks as well.
I genuinely think, though, I honestly, I'll say one last thing here. I do think the pros of Bubba winning outweigh a lot of the negative that will come with it, because like you said, I think even let's say he were to win the 500, right? And the people that don't like him, I feel like they'll still watch and be like, oh, all the rest of these guys are better. I'm going to keep watching to watch this guy lose,
right. Well, no one will ever be satisfied at a Bubba Wallace win unless he laps the entire field on a mile and a half and leads 110% of the laps that happened that day.
Right. And I agree with you there. So that was a good question, man. Holy crap.
That was a really good question. I like that one.
Wow. All right.
I think we could all agree, though, no matter who wins, even if someone big wins the Daytona 500, it probably won't matter because NASCAR is going to completely bomb the marketing.
Hey, let's be positive. We're positive vibes. We're heading into qualifying night. We're positive vibes. The new car is going to work. We're not going to destroy everything on lap 35. We're all going to be good to go.
Lap 35, the duels or the 500?
If there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that Justin Haley will not win the Daytona 500.
Oh, come on. That's your last word? Wow.
But if there's one thing that three you can agree on, is that Ryan Blaney will win the Daytona 500.
That is also correct. Your last word. Tyler, put us on top here. What do you got?
It's just going to be fun. There's just no other way to put it. It's going to be so much fun. This is a great time for NASCAR. You get these brand new teams coming in, you get this brand new car. And for us to just sit here and not truly know who's going to win it, even though we all said Ryan Blaney, we don't know what's going to happen in this race. Just sit back and enjoy it. The only fear is a 2013 Daytona 500 when they introduced the Gen 6 car. But like William said, let's stay positive on it. We're going to have a lot of fun. It is a great time to be a NASCAR fan.
Well, the best part about Johnny on the Track is since I'm the host, I get to have the last word. What does that mean? Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Haley is your 2022 Daytona 500 champ. Thank you for tuning in. Armani, Will, Tyler, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. So glad we could do this. We're all so excited. Qualifying is about 15 minutes. I think the coverage will actually start. So we got to head out. But, man, what a show. I can't wait to have you guys back on this season to talk some NASCAR. Hopefully, the outcome of what we see on Sunday is awesome. It, transcends the sport in the right direction, which we're optimists on this show. So I think it will. But once again, like I said, thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you to the guests for coming on tonight. I appreciate you guys.